The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing Icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business, from $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters at Real Estate Marketing, Ardor SEO.
Welcome to the Icons of Real Estate. I'm Tim Calloway. Have a great guest for you today. Conor Kearns, agent, investor, and flipper out of the great state of my home state of Texas. For over a decade, Conor's been helping investors find distressed properties and optimize their purchases. Conor, how are you?
Hey, Tim, doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yes, no problem. I'm really excited about this. Always love hearing about what's going on in Texas. So a little bit of your backstory. Tell me how you got started and kind of how you got to where you are today.
Sure. So my background, I feel like, is a little different than the most agents you have on this show. I was a corporate America guy for many years, worked in medical sales. And so I'm hoping for the listeners now that the real value is, I'm hoping there's some takeaways today, but I'm thinking the real takeaways are going to be from listeners today, hear my story and think, I know someone who could benefit from hearing this. It's someone who's looking to get into real estate, working full time and doesn't know how to transition, and this hopefully will provide some tangible takeaways in addition to some mindset advice along the way. So my professional career started in medical sales. So at 22, got into medical sales with no experience. Actually, I was working as a personal trainer before and knew that there were some earning limitations in that field. So I thought, I want to get into sales, want to have just a higher earning potential. What would be the most difficult sector of sales to get into? Probably selling to the most highly educated and intelligent people in the world, i.e. physicians. Mm-hmm. So let me do that. So found a company that wanted to take a chance on me. A guy with no experience. I was just this young, super confident, borderline arrogant kid. And I think it might have been more of a social experiment for the company, more so than anything else. But so they made a bet on me, and it ended up paying off because after about 9 months, I'd been promoted 4 times. And by the age of 23, I was the head of sales and operations for the state of Michigan for a national durable and disposable medical equipment company. So it was a pretty cool position to be in. All my peers were late 30s, 40s, 50s, and I was doing this at 23. And nice. What happened next was interesting because I get to this point and think I'm going to be happy and the skies will open and there's this anointing, but none of that happened. And I felt hollow, right? Because despite climbing the ladder and making more money, there was no purpose behind it. And at that same time, through a weird chain of events, the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad came into my life. Read that book, it changed my entire paradigm on how I viewed money and life and investing. Right. And I literally, after reading that book, moved back to Houston, where I'm from originally, and 3 months later, bought my first house. And really had no idea what I was doing. I was just operating under the simple formula of most wealthy people own real estate. Right. So conversely, if I own real estate, maybe I can become wealthy. It was as simple as that. Right. So didn't know what I was doing early on. Didn't really have any guidance, no mentors. Just was working under that thesis. And I had a blueprint that I had laid out. I thought, okay, if I can buy one investment property a year from age 25 to 30, so you locked up 5 investment properties after 5 years and just move very slowly, very methodically, move in silence. Then after 5 years, I can refinance, and then I can actually start investing in real estate. And then I'll really put my name out there, and then I'll really hit it. So that was the idea behind it. So I remember crunching the numbers and thinking, okay, if I buy a house, $100,000, it's a 20% down payment, so 20 grand. I'll need another 7,000 for closing costs, appraisals, inspections, etc. Then another 3,000 for just getting the property spruced up and rent ready. And so 30K a year cash. Can I do that? And I just thought, I don't care if I have to sell a kidney. I'm going to make that happen. So what happened next is pretty interesting, because I had this very slow 5-year plan that I'd laid out for myself, while I was working in medical sales. So throughout this time, I was working 60, 80 hours a week in medical sales, and advancing, making more money, growing as a person, but working and traveling. I think at the time I was covering 4 states, so I was gone most weeks. But this was my secret plan. I was going to invest in real estate on the side and become wealthy. What I didn't take into account was how quickly I'd start seeing appreciation, and all of a sudden, I can increase some rents.
Right.
And most important factor of it all was I didn't realize how much my network would grow, and the people around me would change how I viewed investing. And these abstract concepts became more tangible. And so this 5-year goal of one house a year became eclipsed very quickly. It was one house a year from 25 to 30. Became eclipsed quickly. By the age of 27, I actually hit financial independence through my real estate investing. And then 1 month after turning 29, I retired full-time from corporate America and went full-time into real estate as an investor, agent, flipper.
Man, that's great. That's a great story. That's a great backstory. So, it is a big leap of faith, right? I mean, it's the way you did it is very similar to a lot of folks that I do here. But you kind of get to that point. Might have been when you were 29, might have been when you were 27, could have been day one. But the light just goes on that you say, you know what, the rest of this is for the birds, and I'm going to make that leap. Tell me about that transition. I mean, you leave the corporate world and you go, I'm doing this full time. I can imagine, Conor, filling your days is not that difficult. I mean, there's always plenty to do. Tell me about that structure and kind of what day to day looks like for you now.
For me now, it's pretty heavy on the investment side. I work with a lot of investors, work a lot in the distressed property space. In addition to that, I help traditional home buyers optimize home purchases. So, with my background, I can give an investment edge for traditional buyers who are looking to make a purchase that isn't just a home that they love, but it's something that makes sense for them financially. So we can develop a comprehensive plan based on their 1 to 5 year goals and give them some unique exit strategies based on what they're looking to do. So I've really been able to lean in heavy to my background in buying houses, flipping houses, and actively working in the space before I actually became an agent. And
nice.
It's
Are you primarily? I know you're in Texas, and that might or might not be your primary focus area. Is it what part of Texas? Is it just Houston? Are you working your way in Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, or anywhere in between?
So my focus is the greater Houston area. Yeah. So I grew up in Houston, know the market well. I mean, I'll likely expand into some other markets in Texas. And if a deal comes up out that way, like helping an investor, sell a flip or whatever it may be, I would of course hop on it. But right now the focus is Houston, Texas.
Awesome. That's my hometown, born and raised. So tell me, I had a light fall. Sorry about that. So tell me what exactly the 5-year outlook looks like for you. Where are you moving? Where are you moving forward? What direction?
It's a great question. So there's a Bob Proctor quote that I think about a lot, and RIP Bob Proctor, where he says, you have to keep the main thing, right? For me, the main thing is building generational wealth for my family. So continuing to build out the investment portfolio. So luckily now with my investments, all the money, all my active income goes right into investments. So the goal for the next 5 years. I have a number I'm looking to hit by the time I'm 35, but it's basically growing that investment portfolio and finding ways to optimize my active income. Whether it's flipping houses in my own personal portfolio or working with investors and home buyers.
Gotcha. How often do you utilize agents, other agents? Are you have boots on the ground searching for properties? Is networking with other agents, and maybe, I talk to a lot of folks that, have networks of probate attorneys and things of that nature. How are you finding the properties, and what does that look like for you?
So networking is huge, and I feel like anyone on this show is going to say that. There's actually, if we can kind of do a little sidebar, there's a cool story about connectors that I actually
let's hear
heard
it.
the other day. It's a takeaway from Malcolm Gladwell, one of my favorite authors. He talks about Paul Revere and the story of Paul Revere. We all know about Paul Revere, right?
Sure.
Made the midnight ride through Massachusetts and
Right.
let the colonists know that the British were in fact coming, right?
Yep.
So what we don't know, or it's oftentimes overlooked, is that there was actually a second rider that night. His name was William Dawes.
Yes.
He left at the same time and took a different route. But we don't talk about William Dawes.
Right.
Because William Dawes wasn't able to communicate that message effectively. Because if you look at Paul Revere was a socialite. He was connected in the community. He had community ties. Whenever he made this ride, he wasn't just aimlessly going through these towns. He knew exactly which house to stop into because he knew the person that lived there. He knew that they were connected, and his word carried weight. And he was able to, spread this message very, very quickly. And whenever you look at William Dawes, it's the opposite. He just wasn't as connected, didn't know who to talk to. So he traveled the same distance, different direction, but just yielded no results. I think that right there shows the power of being a connector, knowing who to talk to, and just networking in general. Yeah,
that's a great anecdote, analogy to really what it takes to be the person in the know, for sure.
Yeah.
We're kind of winding down here, getting close towards the end of our time. Sure. Is there anything that you really want to express upon folks who are listening? Any last words, words of wisdom, or any other great stories? Is there a Davy Crockett story in there?
That'll be next time we talk.
Right.
Davy Crockett, then I'll give you a Paul Bunyan story too.
Paul Bunyan, yes, Old Blue. Yeah. That'd be great.
So actually, I'd love to take a couple minutes and talk directly to people who may not be in real estate full time, looking to get into it at a various stage, or thinking about leaving the W-2. They might be happy with their job, maybe not, but they want to hear some insight from someone who actually made that transition.
Let's hear
it. I have a couple of things I was thinking about last couple of days, just with this coming up. And there's some things that someone thinking about this transition think they should consider. And I think step one is to not villainize your W-2, right? Find ways to use it as leverage. Robert Kiyosaki in Rich Dad Poor Dad, he has a great takeaway where he says, employers should want their employees to invest in real estate because it doesn't take away from the job. It makes you a better employee. I can tell you firsthand, once I had purpose in my life and money wasn't just to buy shiny things for 50 years, then die, it became more than that. It made me a better employee. I worked harder because my money meant something, because it was going towards a bigger goal. So don't villainize your W-2. Find ways that it can help you create leverage in your life, because there's a lot of advantages. And a lot of people ask me, man, should I leave my job? A lot of times, I think the answer is no. Like, if you have a good W-2 job, the grass is always greener on the other side. Okay, so if you want to be in real estate full time, like, you have to love it. You have to live and breathe it. And that's not everyone, and that's okay. So the other thing is just taking action. Like, no matter how small it is, the action will compound. So even if it's one investment property, then that house is kicking back $100 a month in cash flow. After 5 years, you'll probably have 6 figures in equity. Cash out, sell it, refinance, and then you can take that money and invest it further. But it all starts with actually taking action. Get something on the scoreboard. Okay? Right. And last thing is, to get what you don't have, you have to become something that you aren't currently, right? Yeah. So become the person you you want to be. And I realize that sounds very Tony Robbins-esque and kind of cheesy, but like, think about the Paul Revere, William Dawes comparison,
Yeah.
right? Are you a William Dawes? Do you have no connections? If you have no connections, how are you going to actively buy real estate? How are you going to know where the deals are? How are you going to know where the good lenders are? Right? You have to get out there and make connections. So think about what that person looks like, that successful real estate investor version of you.
Right.
What does that look like? Who do they know? What do they dress like? What do they talk like? What kind of books do they listen to? Like, build that avatar and then work to become that person.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Excellent advice, man. That's some sage advice from that I think anybody can put in their back pocket and use the rest of their life for sure.
And there's one more piece, and I get this a lot from going to networking events or getting messages on social media where people say, "Hey, I want to get into real estate." I say, "Great, like, what do you want to do?" And they're like, anything. I can't help you if you don't have a defined criteria. Right. So the better that you iron out your parameters and define your criteria, the better I can help you. Right. For example, I had this investor about 6 months ago, met him at an event, and he's like, "Hey man, good to meet you. Let me tell you what I bought." He said, "You know this town in Texas?" And he referenced this very small town. I said, "Yeah, I've heard of it. I think I've driven through it once or twice." He said, "That's where I bought." So wow. I buy west of the highway, anything that's a 2 to 4 bedroom on this lot size or under.
Wow.
I'm like, great.
That is defined.
Perfect. The next day, I think I connected him with 5 or 6 people, and they were able to send him deals because it was so defined.
Yeah.
So the issue is that people, they don't know what they want, and you're doing yourself a disservice. And here's the thing: it's hard to figure out what you want. So here's what you say if you don't know, and you're at a networking event, you're talking to someone who's actively working in the industry. They say, "Hey, so what do you do? Like, what do you buy? Like, tell me about yourself." Here's what you say. You ready? You say, "Right now, I am in an information gathering stage." You, knowing what you know, if you were starting off right now, where do you feel the best opportunity is? And then just listen. Right. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is called an open-ended question. Mm-hmm. So get them talking and learn.
Yeah, get them talking and take their knowledge. I mean, that's really what we should be doing is aggregating everybody's knowledge. And as they used to call it, standing on the shoulders of giants, right?
There we go. Yeah.
You know, take what's out there and it's a great way to get it out of them because some folks don't want to do that. Some folks don't want to, but if you're in the right environment and ask the right open-ended questions like you have, people will tell you all day long. But I love the getting granular about exactly where that gentleman invested, right? I mean, so many people I talk to, they're like, "Oh, all over the place." And it always reminds me of jack of all trades, master of none, right? Mm-hmm. If I bring you a $4 million deal, then you go, "Oh, I don't do $4 million deals." Well, guess what? Yeah. I've wasted my time. If I bring you a $250,000 deal and you say I only do $4 million deals, I've wasted my time. So, it's very, very important. Well, Conor, thanks so much for being on the show. Is there a number anybody can get in touch with you or?
Yeah. So Tim, thanks again for having me.
Yeah.
For anyone looking to connect with me, I'm active on social media and you can also email me. Tim will have all my contact info in the bio. So check it out there. I'm always looking to connect and help and add value in any way I can. So even if you're someone who is not investing in real estate right now, looking to get into it, feel free to reach out. I'd love to help wherever I can.
Conor, thanks so much, man. Have a great week and be safe, and we'll talk to you soon.
Great. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.